Welcome to Habitly Courses, a production of Manage to Win. Each course is divided into multiple lessons for easy viewing. All are now completely free, so you can watch them on your own or work through them as a team. Please subscribe to this channel, leave a comment, and share your favorite lessons with others. Try to find something that helps you be your best. Welcome to our sixth lesson on solving, not selling. This one is solving on your own without a sales team. Some organizations require service techs to initiate and complete the sales process with existing clients, as well as their technical duties. Let's consider how you can play to your strengths through these conversations and activities, rather than have the process be uncomfortable and stressful. Quote unquote, flying solo in this lesson means you're responsible for doing both the tech and sales work. In our prior lesson, a service technician can delegate selling responsibilities to a sales team. If that's your situation, then you can skip this lesson. Act upon what you learned in lesson 5, which was solving with a sales team, and move on to lesson 7, which focuses on communication soft skills. Here's a table similar to the one discussed in lesson 5. In the lesson 5 table, you have a salesperson or team driving the sales process. In that table, there are 9 sales-related responsibilities, and the salesperson drives 8 of those actions. The remaining one is presenting the solution after it's implemented. Now, this is typically led by the tech who did the work, and the salesperson's in a supporting role. However, depending on the situation, the salesperson might lead that meeting. Of the 9 sales-related responsibilities, we designated 6 as possible support for the tech. This means the tech might have to support the salesperson in one or more of those activities. In this table, a service technician has to do everything when serving existing clients. Therefore, all of your responsibilities are in black type, even though some are in the right-hand sales team or sell column. Don't worry. Our approach is to build on your strengths as a service technician. We do not believe you must develop significant sales skills. Just play to your strengths. Also, please note, when the sale is a big project, get a senior member of your team or the owner of your company involved. When you're responsible for discussing issues and providing pricing to clients, the first possible support task that becomes your full responsibility is number 5, discuss with client. Now, the objective here is to tell them what you found. First, you're going to inform them of the problem or the upgrade need. Second, you're going to get permission to provide options to resolve the situation if you don't have them already. And third, you're going to confirm when to discuss your conclusions. Once again, if you don't have them already. If you already have some conclusions, you can talk about them. Now remember, you have good rapport with the client. So you're going to talk with them as a friend, not as a salesperson. You're going to come alongside them to explain the risks you've identified. It's a conversation, not a sales pitch. One approach that's comfortable for many techs is this. Discuss the situation, one issue or upgrade need at a time. For each need, first explain the current situation. Second, describe the problem or the upgrade need. Third, outline the risks or negative consequences the situation is causing or might cause. And then fourth, explain the destination. This is where they'll be after the issue is solved or the upgrade is completed. The second possible support task that becomes your full responsibility is develop quote. Now, you discuss the situation with the client and they want to consider resolving it. The objective here is to develop a quote that informs the client of the cost and time needed to resolve the situation. We discussed this in lesson 4, which is titled Our Clients Pay For. You're going to develop a quote with 3 solutions for the client to consider. The lowest price option corrects the situation in a minimal way or is the first stage of your proposed solution. The mid-range option is your preferred solution.
And the highest price option provides additional value, but may not be totally required or immediately required. So you're going to set aside time to develop the quote, you're going to get help as needed, and you're going to complete your draft. The third possible support task that becomes your full responsibility in this situation is number 7, get quote reviewed or approved internally. So the objective is you take your draft quote and bring it to someone else who can approve it so you can present it to the client. Step 1, you're going to have a qualified member of your team review your quote to confirm it's technically correct and consistent with your company policies. Step 2, you're going to revise the quote as needed, if it's needed at all. You might have gotten it right the first time through. And step 3, you're going to get final approval of your quote. Now you're ready to go to the client. The fourth possible support task that becomes your full responsibility is number 8, present quote. Now the objective is to present a professional quote on time or early. One important consideration is to write and present your quote in the client's preferred communication style. Now, what do I mean by that? Some people like to be given lots of details, whereas others are fine with just summary information. Others want references, reviews, or third-party validation, whereas some clients know you really well and they'll just act on your advice alone. So it's important to know the client and present information in the way they prefer to receive it. Often it's best to present the quote verbally first, but it depends on your company's best practices and the client's preferred communication style. If it's a conversation, then email the quote to the client afterwards, even if they decline to move forward. Send it politely as a reference point should they decide to reconsider your advice at a later date. Your email should include a copy of the quote, even if you gave them a paper copy, plus a simple outline of the steps they should take if they decide to proceed. The fifth possible support task that becomes your full responsibility is number 9, research questions. The client had questions about your quote, and you need to research some answers. You knew part of the answer, but maybe not the full answer. So the objective is you want to confirm first what specific information must be gathered, 2, who needs to receive it, and 3, when and how you'll deliver it. Then you're going to go and complete the research to answer the client's questions, and maybe you're going to develop new ways to solve the problem based on this new information. Adjust the quote as needed, and then you're going to re-present your quote to the client on time, verbally or in writing, according to the client's expectations. Next, you're responsible for managing the negotiation process. This is number 10 on the chart. This is one of 2 activities that were 100% delegated to the salesperson. Don't worry about it. You do not have to sell. Your duty is to present your quote and answer questions. Here's an overview of how this process might go for the negotiation when you're approaching them as a friend, someone they can trust, not to sell them anything. So the objectives are, number 1, do not negotiate, and number 2, communicate the information on time and fully. You're going to present this advice as you would to a friend. You're not selling. By the way, if they want to negotiate, then respectfully ask for specifics. That's okay. Listen carefully, take good notes. At the end of the conversation, confirm the list of questions that you have to bring to your boss. You don't go against them. Just, hey, that's okay. Oh, okay, that's reasonable. Whatever. Let me write that down. Empathetically make it clear you have no authority to change the quote, but you're more than happy to present their questions to your boss. And then you work between the client and your boss to resolution. Now, if they're at odds and they cannot agree, then maybe you're going to need to schedule a group conversation so the client can talk directly with your boss about their concessions they're requesting. You should be part of that conversation, ideally. Sometimes you're not, but ideally you should be part of it because they may make changes technically that affect what you're doing in your solution. So work that out with your boss, whatever's appropriate. The second straight-on sales responsibility that you have to take on is number 11, receive signed approval to proceed. Again, don't worry about it. You don't have to sell. You don't have to be aggressive. Basically, what you're going to do is professionally pursue an answer to your quote. That's reasonable. We don't leave loose ends. If you only emailed a quote, then follow up when there's not a response for 1 to 2 business days. If you first discuss the new quote and a decision is made, then confirm when the client will give you a signed copy of the quote, work order, or whatever you need in your process to move forward with the work. Lastly, if you first discussed the new quote and a decision was not made, then close that conversation by confirming when the client will decide and email you a response. So you don't leave things hanging. You're always confirming next steps or closing it so you can move on to implementation. The final possible support task is one where you had backup responsibility, but now you need to take the lead. And this one's easy. Okay, number 15, confirm satisfaction after implementation. You do this a lot now. All right, the objective here is we're not going to assume the client is happy. We're going to confirm it. So maybe it's a few days, maybe it's 1 week after the work is complete. We're going to call the client, ideally, to confirm the problem has not returned and they're pleased with the results of your work. If they don't answer, you can leave a message and then follow up with a brief email. You document your follow-up in your service system. That's important, okay? You want others to know you followed up, followed through. You decide in your system whether you're going to follow up once or whether you do it multiple times. Maybe the first one is verbally by phone, or maybe you're on site, and the second one or third, whatever, might be via email or some other system. But you do want to follow up and you want to document that the follow-up took place. Do you notice something? The process I just outlined never requires you to act like a salesperson. It never forces you to convince someone to buy something. Throughout this 15-step process, you always play to your strengths as a service tech who's solving problems. You're discussing facts and you're teaching. You never sell. You merely fulfill your responsibilities to promptly inform clients of unexpected problems and upgrade requirements for them to maximize the performance of their equipment. In closing, failing to communicate new issues to clients hurts you, your company, and especially the client, which is experiencing lower productivity, increased expenses, and or lost opportunities for growth. Therefore, always have the courage to communicate problems you see to your clients. When that's just too uncomfortable, you're worried about their response, or you're too busy, whatever it is, then quickly ask your boss or another team member to discuss the issue with the client. Don't leave it hanging. Don't do nothing about it. Here's my final question. What needs to change in your process or your habits based on what we discussed in this lesson and this table? Remember, knowledge has no value unless it's applied. So I want to encourage you, please work with your team to identify at least one thing you can improve. Develop the change, pilot it, and then encourage others, maybe if they have similar issues that they're working on, or maybe they have strengths that they want to build further, share what you learned, share what you're benefiting from, so everyone can advance on your team. This concludes our 6th lesson on solving, not selling. We talked about how a service tech can comfortably identify a problem or an upgrade, inform a client of the situation, and then follow a basic process to decide whether they want to act on your valuable information. Please pass the exam below to complete this lesson and then proceed to lesson number 7. The next lesson explains best practices for communicating with clients, your team, and quite frankly, virtually everyone in your life. It's a great summary of healthy communication habits to develop. Thank you.